What's up, everybody? This is Drew. Today's video, we're going to talk about boundaries that you must set with your photo booth rental customers. These are things that took me the longest to learn, and they weren't easy to do. But now that I set up these boundaries, you guys, it makes my life so much easier. It just, saves me time, saves me energy, and just a huge headache. So let's just dive right into it. A boundary that you guys 100% have to set in place is template work. So, if you're creating a template for your customers, you're gonna find out quickly that it is time consuming because most of the time you are doing custom templates. So you have to let your customers know that, hey, look, you gotta let them know this is all custom designed work. You're getting a template, you get one template. So after they give you all that information, right, you have to let them know that you can make a few revisions, but the revisions have to be within that template design, if that makes any work. So for example, right, I had a customer, I think it was maybe 7 different templates we made. I didn't set up the boundaries. So in her mind, she can ask for 1,000 different templates, but it was my fault. I didn't explain to her that we have to custom make every single one. And I think it was about 3.5 to 4 hours of work for her templates. So after that one, I made it clear to every single customer after that it's one design, and then we can do some micro changes to it. And if they want a completely different design, they have to pay for it. And whatever you want to charge for that, that's totally up to you. So that is a huge point I want to get across this video. Don't make the template work be the most time-consuming aspect of the rental. It should probably be the least, right? So make that clear. It's gonna save you guys a headache. And the next boundary I think is really important to set is to let your customer know, right after they book you, what time you're available for customer service related things. So a lot of times people, we live in a day and age of Amazon and all these other businesses where they always have a representative ready to talk to you. You can literally chat, get someone to talk to you within 30 seconds to a minute. But most likely, if you're like me, you're a small business, you could have a day job just doing this part-time. So you may not be available to respond and, give that attention to your customer. But if you set up that boundary, you let them know when you're available, how long it'll take you to respond. It's very, very important. The reason why I had to set this boundary up, I had a customer a few years ago. She booked, she just paid the deposit. I never met this lady, but she messaged me maybe about 4 to 5 hours after she paid the deposit. So it was about 9 to 10 p.m., right? I already have my phone set aside. I'm spending time with my family. She's messaging me. She's freaking out. She started thinking that I was a scam artist and all of this drama. And I'm like, man, I should have just told her when I'm free and when I'm not free, even though it's kind of ridiculous to expect someone to respond at, 10 o'clock at night. But she started freaking out and she was like making threats. So I wake up the next morning to a bunch of stuff on my phone. I had to call her and explain to her. It was all good, but she freaked out. So again, guys, that's just one example. It's super important. Make sure you let them know when you're available. The next boundary you guys have to set up is to let your customer know that you will not provide services or work for things that you're not getting paid for. So for example, if you're offering a digital photo booth or just the photo booth alone, your customers aren't paying for the backdrop, they're not paying or using your own equipment, right? Don't set up their stuff. Like if they need help and you show up to the event, they're asking you to set up their backdrop, you gotta let them know, like, sorry, that's not part of the, that's not what you're paying for. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me on this. They're gonna say like, well, what's the big deal? Just help them out. You don't wanna get a bad review. One, I know no one wants to do free work. Just explain to them that I can't set up your backdrop because then I will be liable if anything happens to the backdrop. If it falls, it collapses, it hits someone, I may be liable to have to pay for any damages. So a lot of times, I'm telling you, it happens all the time. They'll need help setting up the backdrop. They may need help setting up the neon sign. They want you to sometimes move things around to clear up space for your photo booth. So I always make that clear that we will not be able to help or assist because it's not something we're getting paid for, and we're not willing to take that risk. But it's up to you. If you want to do it, go for it. But this is just something I think that's important. The next boundary is to not give out free photo booth rental time. So the next boundary I think is really important to set up is to communicate and make sure your customers know that they have to pay for any extra time. Whether you're doing prints, whether it's a drop off, a 360 booth, if it's past the time that was agreed upon, the customers 100% should pay for that extra time. Maybe 5 minutes overtime is good. Give it to them. That's what we would do. But anything after 5 minutes, I let the customer know like, hey, it's already after the time. do you want an extra hour? And then I'll throw a price out. 9 out of 10 times they'll say no. You're like, no, it's okay, don't worry about it. But you know, sometimes they will pay for it. You know, you may not even be available to stay longer, so it's all up to you, but just make sure that that is clear. It should be in your contract, and if it's not in your contract, make sure you write it, text it. That way, if it does happen, you can refer back to that. And the last boundary I think that is super important to set is to make sure that your customer is aware someone must be at the venue, whether it's the house, a house party, or it's an actual hall, or wherever it's at, that there's someone gonna be there to greet you, someone's gonna show you where to set up and give you all the information you need. And if you're doing like a cash payment, right? Like if your customer's gonna pay you in cash when you show up, make sure they know to have that cash ready for you before you set up or leave, because that's super important. There's been many times in the past, this is why I set this boundary up, where I'll show up to the party, right? Let's just say it's a wedding, and there's no one there. They tell me that this is the time, no one's there. It could be another hour, hour and a half. Sometimes it's been longer. There's nothing worse than just sitting around wasting time. So I always, in the contract, you know, we add a little, you know, memo just saying, you know, this is the time that you guys said someone will be here, this and that. If there's not someone there, we have to wait. And then I put a $50 an hour rate on top of that. So it's all about just kind of letting them know that like, hey, like, look, our time is valuable, and if we are here and no one is here to greet us and we don't know where to set up, you have to pay for that. So that is super important. So I think that's the last boundary, but I just want you guys to know that all of this stuff I'm talking about should be in your contract. If it's not, just add it, make an amendment. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. But you know, if you guys are interested in contract stuff, my company, Photo Booth 101, you guys, we sell photo booth shells, we sell backdrops, we have props, and then also included is free software trial, a free 30-minute call with one of the softwares we like to use, and also you have access to me, my direct number for you to text. So if you have any, you know, issues down the line, you're curious about business-related stuff, you can always reach out to me. So it's photobooth101.com. I'll leave that linked in the description. And again, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.